Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to say will either wake you up or leave you exactly where you are right now. Look around you. How many people are really living the life they want? How many people are actually free, unstoppable, and building the future they dream about? Most of them aren't. Most are trapped, distracted, and settling. And the worst part is they don't even know it. They go through life doing what everyone expects, following the rules that were never meant for them and measuring themselves by standards they didn't create. They are the 99%, living small, thinking small, and dying before they ever truly live. And if you are honest with yourself, deep down, you know that life you are living right now is not enough. You feel it, that frustration, that itch inside, that burning sensation that says, I'm meant for more. That's not a coincidence. That's your soul screaming at you to wake up. I want you to realize something immediately. No one is going to save you. No one is going to hand you success. No one is going to clap for you until you prove that you are willing to do what 99% refuse to do. You have been told to follow the timeline, follow the rules, and settle for what's comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads. And your next move will determine everything. Will you continue to drift with the crowd, doing the same things everyone else does, living a life that fades into the background? Or will you make a decision so fierce, so deliberate that it changes the trajectory of your existence forever? I need you to listen to me and be honest with yourself. Are you willing to do what it takes to escape the 99%? Are you willing to embrace struggle, to endure pain, to sacrifice sleep, comfort, and approval, to grind when no one is watching, to learn when everyone else is distracted, to push when everyone else quits? Because let me tell you this, nothing extraordinary is achieved without suffering. Nothing extraordinary is built without obsession. Nothing extraordinary comes to those who wait, who hesitate, or who follow the masses. The life you dream about, the freedom, the influence, the respect, the money, the impact, none of it will come if you are unwilling to rise above mediocrity. So right now, I want you to make a choice. I want you to commit in this moment that you will no longer accept average, that you will no longer be controlled by society's expectations, by fear, by distraction, by the opinions of others. That you will embrace purpose, skill, and relentless action as the foundation of your life. That you will stop being part of the 99% and start becoming the 1% who refuses to quit, refuses to compromise, and refuses to settle. This is your moment. This is the spark. And if you are willing to follow through, if you are willing to endure, grind, and master yourself, then by the end of this message, your mindset, your trajectory, and your life will never be the same again. Right now, the question is simple. Will you stay asleep? Or will you wake up and claim what's yours? Because the 99% are comfortable. The 1% are relentless. Where will you stand? The comfort zone is a place so many people willingly settle into, believing it to be safe, believing it to be enough. It's warm, it's familiar, it's predictable. You wake up, do the same routine, follow the same patterns, and convince yourself that this is life, that this is stability. But here's the truth. The comfort zone is a trap. It's not security. It's stagnation disguised as safety. The 99% live here, and they tell themselves that life is meant to be easy, that struggle is unnecessary, and that success will come to those who wait. But waiting doesn't create greatness. Waiting doesn't forge resilience, and waiting doesn't bring freedom. Comfort kills ambition quietly, subtly, without announcing its presence. You don't realize how much it holds you back until you start to push against it. You don't notice the chains until you try to move forward. And those chains are invisible because society, culture, and even your own mind have conditioned you to accept them. You are told to go to school, get a job, follow the rules, and be grateful for what you have. There's nothing wrong with gratitude. But when gratitude becomes a cage, when satisfaction becomes complacency, then comfort becomes a killer of dreams. To escape the 99%, you must first recognize that your comfort is costing you more than you think. Every time you choose what's easy over what's necessary, you reinforce the patterns that keep you ordinary. Every time you choose convenience over growth, you are choosing the mediocre life that the majority live. The people who change the world, the people who rise to the top, they don't stay comfortable. They embrace the grind. They stare fear and uncertainty in the face and refuse to blink. They understand that growth is painful, but they also know that pain is temporary and regret is eternal. The comfort zone whispers to you that everything is fine, that you don't need to change, that you're already doing enough. But the truth is, fine is the enemy of greatness. Easy is the enemy of extraordinary, and settling is the enemy of freedom. You see, the comfort zone doesn't just affect your work or your ambitions. It affects your mind. It affects how you think, how you see yourself, and how you interact with the world. When you stay in comfort, your mind grows lazy, your dreams shrink, your vision narrows. You start to believe that the world owes you something, that opportunity should come to you without sacrifice, and that success should happen overnight. These are the lies that the 99% believe. But the truth is, nothing in life worth having comes without challenge. Every great achievement, every incredible story of triumph begins with someone stepping out of comfort, choosing the unknown, and doing the work nobody else is willing to do. To step out of the comfort zone, you have to fight against your natural instincts. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure, to conserve energy and avoid risk. That's why the 99% stay where they are. They are literally following their biology. But biology doesn't dictate destiny. Biology doesn't define character. Biology doesn't decide whether you will be mediocre or exceptional. You have to override your instincts with discipline, with vision, and with a hunger that refuses to be quieted. You have to be willing to do things that feel uncomfortable, to face rejection, to risk failure, and to keep moving even when the path is unclear. Growth never happens when everything feels easy. Growth happens when your muscles, your mind, and your spirit are stretched beyond what you thought possible. And that stretch always feels uncomfortable at first. It always feels awkward. It always feels like you are being pushed to your limits. That is the signal that you are breaking free from the trap, that you are stepping into the realm of possibility where the 1% live. Every day you stay in comfort, you are losing time, losing potential, and losing momentum. Time doesn't wait. Opportunity doesn't knock twice. Every moment you choose ease over effort, you are reinforcing the life that everyone else has. The life of limits, the life of regrets, the life of watching others succeed while you remain static. Comfort is deceptive because it feels good in the moment, but its long-term cost is devastating. Imagine waking up 10, 20, 30 years from now and realizing that you have spent your life avoiding discomfort, only to find yourself trapped in mediocrity. That is the cruel truth of the comfort zone. It lulls you into complacency, it numbs ambition, and it disguises stagnation as stability. The 1% understand this. They understand that short-term pain is nothing compared to long-term regret. They understand that discomfort is the ladder, and every rung leads to freedom, power, and influence. Breaking free from comfort requires intentionality. It requires daily decisions that challenge the status quo. It requires saying yes to things that scare you and no to things that seduce you into passivity. It requires surrounding yourself with people who push you, challenge you, and refuse to let you settle. It requires embracing failure as a teacher, criticism as a compass, and struggle as a vehicle for transformation. It is not easy. It is not glamourous. It is not instantaneous. But it's the only way to escape the 99% and claim the life that you were meant to live. The comfort zone will try to pull you back every step of the way. It will whisper doubts. It will present excuses, and it will make the unknown seem terrifying. But the unknown is where your potential lives. The unknown is where your dreams are waiting. The unknown is where freedom and fulfillment are forged in the fires of persistence and courage. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Do you want comfort or do you want greatness? Do you want to blend in with the masses, or do you want to stand out, to rise, to dominate your own life? Comfort is seductive because it seems safe, but safety is a trap. True life is lived on the edge, where risk, struggle, and discomfort meet relentless determination. Every step you take outside comfort, no matter how small, builds momentum. Every action that challenges fear and resistance strengthens your courage. Every day you refuse to settle, you chip away at the chains that have held the 99% captive. And eventually, one day, you will wake up and realize that the trap has been broken. The walls of comfort that once enclosed you have fallen, and you are finally free to pursue the life you were born to live, the life of the 1%. Escape doesn't happen by wishing, by hoping, or by waiting. Escape happens by moving. Escape happens by choosing discomfort, choosing challenge, and choosing to outwork, outthink, and outlast everyone else who remains content in their mediocrity. The comfort zone is a trap, but you are not trapped. You have the power to step out, to rise above, and to join the few who refuse to be ordinary. And the first step, the most crucial step, is deciding that comfort will no longer control you, that fear will no longer dictate your choices, and that mediocrity will no longer define your life. Once you make that decision, the journey begins. Every day after that, you grow stronger, more confident, and more relentless. Every day you move further away from the 99% and closer to the freedom, abundance, and impact that the 1% claim as their own. The trap is real. The comfort zone is deadly. But so is the choice to fight, to grind, and to never settle. And when you finally embrace that fight, when you finally refuse to be ordinary, you will discover that the life you've been dreaming of has always been within reach. It was just on the other side of discomfort. Average thinking is the invisible chain that keeps millions of people trapped in ordinary, unremarkable lives. It is the mindset that whispers, "This is enough," when the fire inside you is screaming for more. It is the voice that tells you to follow the path everyone else is walking, to follow the rules, to settle for what society says is acceptable. The majority of people wake up every morning thinking the same thoughts, repeating the same patterns, consuming the same distractions, and convincing themselves that success is something that happens to others, not to them. This is the thinking of the 99%. And it is the reason why 99% of people live lives of quiet desperation, watching others achieve greatness while they remain spectators. Average thinking is comfortable, yes, but comfort at this level is lethal. It kills ambition. It kills potential. It kills dreams. People don't fail because the world is against them. They fail because they have been trained, intentionally or not, to think small, to dream small, and to accept small results. And once you accept small results, your life will always reflect that. The problem with average thinking is that it is invisible. You don't notice it because it masquerades as reason, practicality, and logic. It tells you to play it safe, to wait your turn, to stay realistic, and for a while it even feels responsible. Following the herd feels like the smart choice. Following the safe route feels like security. But here's the harsh truth. Following average thinking guarantees average results. The world doesn't reward people who play it safe. The world doesn't bend to mediocrity. Success is not a polite visitor who knocks on the doors of those who are content. Success is violent, relentless, and unforgiving. It comes to those who think differently, who refuse to follow the herd, who push boundaries, and who are willing to risk ridicule, failure, and discomfort. If you want to escape the 99%, you have to rewire your mind, and you have to recognize the ways in which your own thinking has been keeping you small. Average thinking is a virus, and it spreads in familiar places, in conversations, in schools, in workplaces, in the media you consume. Every time you listen to the voice of doubt, every time you absorb stories of limitation, every time you allow yourself to believe that life is meant to be normal, you are strengthening the patterns that keep you trapped. The 99% operate from this mindset because it is safe and predictable. They are willing to trade their potential for a sense of security, and they will defend that trade with excuses, ratio, rationalizations, and justifications. I can't risk it, they say. I don't have enough experience, they say. I'll start tomorrow, they say. Every excuse is a brick in the wall that separates you from greatness. And average thinking will always find an excuse because it thrives on comfort, convenience, and conformity. To escape average thinking, you must first identify it in yourself. You must examine the questions you ask, the decisions you make, and the assumptions you hold about what is possible. Do you believe that success is random, that it belongs to others by luck? Do you think that talent is more important than effort? Do you accept limits imposed by society, circumstance, or past failures? If you answered yes to any of these, then average thinking is at work, and it is quietly holding your life hostage. The first step to breaking free is brutal honesty. You have to look in the mirror and acknowledge that the reason you are not living the life you dream of is because of your own mindset, because of the way you think, because of the invisible scripts running in your mind that say, this is enough. That recognition hurts. It is uncomfortable. It shakes you. But pain is a signal that growth is happening, that your mind is waking up to the fact that you have been settling, that you have been small, and that you have been living like everyone else instead of like the 1%. Once you identify average thinking, you must replace it with exceptional thinking. Exceptional thinking sees opportunity where others see risk. Exceptional thinking refuses to accept limits. Exceptional thinking understands that failure is a teacher, struggle is a catalyst, and persistence is the bridge between dreams and reality. The 1% do not wait for permission. They do not wait for luck. They do not wait for circumstances to align. They act, they execute, and they innovate relentlessly. Their thinking is expansive, bold, and unrelenting. They are constantly asking, how can I do more? How can I be better? How can I create value that others cannot imagine? This is the mindset that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. This is the mindset that allows someone to escape the 99% and achieve a life that is remarkable in every dimension. Financially, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Average thinking also comes with fear dressed up as practicality. You tell yourself, I can't start this business. I can't take this risk. I can't pursue this dream because it's too hard. But that fear is nothing more than an illusion built by your comfort-seeking mind. The 1% don't let fear dictate their actions. They understand that fear is a signal that they are moving in the right direction, that they are stepping outside of mediocrity, and that the world has not caught up with their vision yet. Every great achievement in history was considered impossible until someone refused to accept the average thinking of the time. The average mind says it can't be done. The exceptional mind says, watch me do it. Average thinking also breeds impatience and entitlement. The 99% want instant results, recognition, and rewards without putting in the effort, without facing the struggle, without embracing the grind. Exceptional thinkers understand that mastery takes time, that wealth takes patience, and that transformation takes persistence. They understand that while others are acing shortcuts, they are building foundations, strengthening their minds, and creating systems that compound over time. While average thinkers are complaining, exceptional thinkers are creating. While the 99% are distracted by entertainment and social approval, the 1% are investing, learning, and executing. Average thinking keeps people small. Exceptional thinking makes them unstoppable. Finally, to escape average thinking, you must act. Thinking alone is not enough. Motivation without execution is wasted energy. You have to do the work, you have to make the sacrifices, and you have to push relentlessly while others sleep, while others settle, while others accept their limits. Every decision you make, every action you take is a statement about the kind of person you are choosing to become. If you consistently choose comfort, convenience, and conformity, then your life will be a reflection of the 99%. If you choose challenge, risk, and relentless action, then your life will reflect the extraordinary. Exceptional thinking is not just a mindset. It is a lifestyle, a daily commitment to refuse average, to refuse mediocrity, and to refuse the lie that you are bound by what others believe is possible. Average thinking creates average lives because it convinces you to settle before you even start, to limit yourself before you even try, and to listen to the voices that say you're not enough. Exceptional thinking creates extraordinary lives because it dares you to dream bigger, to work harder, and to push farther than anyone else around you. If you want to escape the 99%, the first battle is in your mind. Change the way you think, challenge the limits you accept, and refuse to settle for anything less than what you are capable of achieving. Your thoughts will dictate your actions will dictate your results, and your results will dictate the life you live. Stop thinking like the majority. Start thinking like the 1%. Break free from average thinking and your life will never be the same again. Hustle while others sleep. That phrase is not just a motivational slogan. It is a lifestyle, a mindset, a commitment to excellence that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. The 99% go to bed early, they wake up late, they scroll mindlessly, they fill their time with entertainment, comfort, and distractions, and they convince themselves that life is supposed to be easy, that success should be handed to those who wait patiently. But here is the unfiltered truth. Success does not sleep, opportunity does not rest, and greatness does not come to those who do. The 1% understand that if they want to escape the 99%, if they want to claim a life of abundance, influence, and freedom, they must put in the work when nobody is watching. They must grind when everyone else is distracted. And they must sacrifice now for rewards that the majority cannot even imagine. Hustle while others sleep is not about glorifying overwork. It is about recognizing the value of time, the rarity of focus, and the compounding power of relentless effort. Every extra hour you put in, every extra step you take, every extra sacrifice you make while others choose comfort multiplies your advantage in ways that the majority will never understand. The world rewards preparation, consistency, and discipline. Most people misunderstand hustle. They think it is about random bursts of activity or showing off productivity on social media. That is not hustle. Real hustle is silent. Real hustle is grinding in the dark, in the quiet hours, when your only witness is your own determination. It is waking up while others are dreaming, studying while others are distracted, executing while others are complacent. The people who achieve extraordinary results do not wait for perfect conditions, for recognition, or for encouragement. They act, they execute, they invest time in themselves when the world has no eyes on them. The grind is lonely at times, but that loneliness is the price of freedom, and the payoff is the life that the 99% only dream about. Every day, while others sleep, you have the opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and faster. Every day, while others scroll and complain, you can build momentum that compounds silently but powerfully. And the cumulative effect of this daily effort is unstoppable. Hustle while others sleep also means embracing sacrifice. The 99% sacrifice nothing, yet they want everything. They want comfort, security, validation, and instant results. They are unwilling to put in the effort that extraordinary achievement demands. But the 1% understand that every decision has a cost, and the cost of not working is far greater than the cost of effort. You have to be willing to miss parties, to skip distractions, to endure fatigue, to focus relentless, and to dedicate yourself to your vision in a way that others are unwilling to consider. That dedication is uncomfortable. It is lonely. It is draining, but it is also what produces results that seem miraculous to those who have never hustled in silence. Hustle is the multiplier of talent, the amplifier of skill, and the differentiator between potential and greatness. You can have talent, intelligence, and even opportunity, but if you do not hustle, your results will always be average. Hustle is the vehicle that transforms dreams into reality. The true essence of hustling while others sleep is discipline. Discipline to wake up when your body wants to rest. Discipline to work when your mind wants to quit. Discipline to push when everyone else has stopped. Discipline to keep going even when recognition is absent, even when feedback is delayed, even when the world seems indifferent. Discipline to focus on long-term goals rather than short-term pleasures. Hustle is not glamorous. It is not about showing off. It is about doing the work that nobody else is willing to do day after day, month after month, year after year. It is about being relentless in your pursuit of excellence, even when the world is asleep, even when no one cares, and even when it feels like you are giving more than you are receiving. That is the path to escaping the 99%. That is how ordinary lives become extraordinary. That is how freedom is earned. Hustling while others sleep also requires mental toughness. It is easy to quit when the world is quiet and dark, when there is no applause, no validation, no immediate reward. That is when most people give up. That is when the 99% fail to take advantage of opportunity because they are waiting for permission, waiting for circumstances to align, waiting for others to notice them. But the 1% are not dependent on external validation. They hustle in silence because their vision, their purpose, and their desire are louder than any external reward. They understand that every hour invested while others sleep is an hour closer to freedom, closer to mastery, closer to the life they were born to live. They do not chase recognition. They chase results. They do not chase comfort. They chase excellence. And because they do, the gap between the 1% and the 99% widens with every passing day. Time is the ultimate currency. And those who hustle while others sleep understand that. The 99% waste it. They fritter it away on distractions, on entertainment, on temporary pleasures. The 1% invested in themselves, in skill, in knowledge, in action. The hours others squander become the competitive advantage of those who refuse to rest until their vision is realized. Every decision to work, to learn, to execute, to push when others pause is a deposit into a bank account of success that compounds invisibly but powerfully. The accumulation of effort over time is what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary, the wealthy from the average, the free from the trapped. Hustle is not an event. It is a habit, a lifestyle, and a mindset that is built 1 hour, 1 day, one sacrifice at a time. Hustling while others sleep also creates resilience. When you push beyond fatigue, beyond doubt, beyond fear, you are training your mind and body to endure challenges that the majority cannot handle. You are building mental toughness that cannot be taught in classrooms or downloaded from the internet. You are developing a capacity to withstand pressure, to thrive under adversity, and to keep moving when circumstances are unfavorable. The 99% are fragile because they have never been tested. They quit at the first sign of discomfort. The 1% are unbreakable because they have been forged in the quiet fires of relentless effort. Every early morning, every late night, every extra hour spent honing skill, building strength, or advancing vision is like a brick in the fortress of your future success. And finally, hustling while others sleep is about legacy. It is about refusing to live a life dictated by mediocrity. It is about taking control of your own destiny and refusing to be a passenger in your own life. Every hour you invest while the world is resting is a statement of intent. You will not be average. You will not be ordinary, and you will not settle. You are committed to your vision, to your goals, and to your potential. You understand that greatness is not given. It is earned through sweat, sacrifice, and relentless action. The 99% will never understand your commitment. They may criticize, doubt, or mock your grind. That does not matter. What matters is the life you are building, the dreams you are manifesting, and the freedom you are claiming. Hustle while others sleep, and the world will eventually wake up to your success. Hustling while others sleep is the difference between wishing and achieving, between potential and results, between ordinary and extraordinary. The 1% are awake, grinding, learning, executing, sacrificing, and building, while the 99% remain comfortable, distracted, and passive. If you want to escape the 99%, you must Adopt this mindset. You must understand that every hour, every effort, every extra mile counts. You must commit to working harder, smarter, and longer than anyone else around you. And when you do, you will realize that the life you have always dreamed of has been waiting for you. Not for the lazy, not for the passive, not for the ordinary, but for the relentless, the disciplined, and the unstoppable. Hustle while others sleep, and you will not just escape the 99%, you will redefine what is possible. Pain is inevitable. Struggle is guaranteed. Every person who has ever achieved greatness, every individual who has ever stepped out of mediocrity and into the realm of the extraordinary has faced pain. And yet the majority of people respond to it incorrectly. They see pain as a signal to quit, a reason to stop, a justification to settle. They believe that suffering is proof that life is against them, that the challenge is too great, or that they are not capable of handling it. That is the thinking of the 99%. And it is what keeps ordinary people trapped in ordinary lives. But the 1%, those who escape mediocrity, those who dominate, those who build empires, see pain differently. They understand that pain is not an enemy. It is a teacher. It is a fuel source, a signal that growth is occurring, a confirmation that you are stepping outside of comfort and entering the territory of transformation. To escape the 99%, to break free from average, you must reprogram your mind to embrace pain, to extract energy from struggle, and to use every setback as a launching pad for success. Pain is universal. No one is immune. No matter your background, your resources, or your talent, you will face our assistance. You will face obstacles. You will face moments when your body wants to quit, when your mind wants to give up, when circumstances seem unfair, and when failure feels like the only outcome. The 99% respond with surrender. They complain, they blame, they retreat into excuses, and they give up on dreams before they have even been fully pursued. But the 1% respond with defiance. They understand that the very discomfort that makes most people stop is the exact thing that can propel them forward. Pain is a signal that you are on the edge, that you are stretching, that you are testing limits that were previously unimaginable. It is not a reason to quit. It is a reason to accelerate. It is not a barrier. It is a benchmark for progress. Embracing pain requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Most people measure progress by comfort and convenience. If it is hard, they assume they are failing. If it is challenging, they assume it is not meant for them. That is average thinking, and it is lethal. The 1% understand that comfort is the enemy of greatness and that struggle is the currency of transformation. Pain is the indicator that you are building resilience, developing strength, and expanding capacity. Every time you push through a difficult situation, every time you continue to grind when every fiber of your body wants to stop, you are rewriting your limits. You are proving to yourself more than anyone else that you are capable, that you are unbreakable, and that you will not be defined by the circumstances around you. Pain also builds character. The people who achieve extraordinary lives are not those who have been shielded from struggle. They are those who have stared at it in the face, embraced it, and allowed it to refine them. Pain forces you to confront your weaknesses, to identify your limits, and to push beyond them. It teaches lessons that comfort can never teach. It cultivates resilience, patience, humility, and discipline. Every failure, every setback, every moment of suffering carries within it a lesson, a blueprint, and an opportunity to grow. The difference between the 1% and the 99% is that the 1% choose to see these lessons, to internalize them, and to let them fuel relentless action, while the 99% see only misery and use it as an excuse to stop trying. Pain is not a verdict. It is an invitation to evolve. When you embrace pain as fuel, it transforms your approach to life. It transforms how you view challenges, obstacles, and adversity. You stop fearing difficulty. You stop avoiding discomfort. You stop measuring success by ease. Instead, you begin to see struggle as an essential ingredient in the recipe for excellence. You understand that the only way to break free from mediocrity is to be willing to endure what most people will not. That willingness is rare. That willingness is what creates the 1%. It is not about talent, luck, or timing. It is about persistence, resilience, and the ability to harness pain as energy. When you begin to view every hardship as an opportunity, every struggle as preparation, and every setback as momentum, your life begins to change. You no longer run from difficulty, you chase it, because you understand that the pain you endure today is the power you wield tomorrow. Pain also forces accountability. When life gets hard, you are confronted with a choice. Do you let it define you, or do you defy? Nail yourself through it? The 99% choose the former. They see pain as proof that they are unlucky, incapable, or undeserving. The 1% choose the latter. They see pain as proof that they are alive, that they are striving, and that they are breaking barriers that others will never attempt to cross. Pain exposes weakness, but it also exposes potential. It forces you to confront the truth of your effort, the intensity of your commitment, and the depth of your ambition. If you respond to pain with discipline, focus, and relentless action, it becomes a magnifier of your strengths rather than a reflection of your limitations. Pain is feedback, not a sentence. It is a tool, not a threat. It is fuel, not failure. The reality is that escaping the 99% requires you to endure more than most people will ever endure. It requires you to make sacrifices, to face rejection, to confront fear, to push through exhaustion, and to work in ways that feel unnatural and extreme. Every hour you grind while others rest, every time you persist when others quit, every moment you choose discomfort over ease compounds into advantage. Pain is the currency of that advantage. It separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the weak from the strong, the trapped from the free. If you run from pain, you remain ordinary. If you harness pain, you become unstoppable. Moreover, pain builds empathy, wisdom, and perspective. Those who never endure hardship often fail to understand the value of effort, the cost of achievement, and the depth of struggle required to excel. Pain teaches you to respect the process, to honor the grind, and to acknowledge that everything worthwhile is earned, not given. It teaches humility, why, patience, and strategy. It teaches that victory is sweeter when it is hard won, and that freedom and success are not merely rewards. They are results of enduring and leveraging the fire that most people flee from. Embracing pain also transforms identity. When you push through suffering, you no longer identify as a victim, as someone at the mercy of circumstance. You identify as a warrior, a fighter, a creator of your own destiny. You prove to yourself repeatedly that external conditions do not determine your outcome. Your response to adversity does. Pain becomes a tool to forge the person you were meant to be, not a reason to shrink, hide, or give up. Each challenge strengthens your mental, emotional, and physical resilience, building a foundation that cannot be shaken by setbacks, criticism, or fear. To live by this principle, you must be relentless. You must choose to act despite discomfort. You must train your mind to view pain as energy, struggle as momentum, and failure as a teacher. You must refuse to quit when things get hard, and you must persist when everyone else would surrender. That is how the extraordinary are made. That is how the 1% escape the 99%. That is how average lives are transformed into exceptional ones. Pain is inevitable, but quitting is optional. The choice is yours. Will you let pain define you, or will you use it to define yourself? Will you shrink from struggle, or will you harness it as fuel to propel yourself toward greatness? The 99% will avoid pain, but the 1% will endure it, embrace it, and transform it into power. And when you finally internalize this truth, when you no longer fear struggle but pursue it, when you no longer run from discomfort but use it to grow, you will realize that pain is not a setback. It is your greatest ally. It is proof that you are alive, striving, and breaking free. It is fuel for your vision, momentum for your journey, and the energy that separates ordinary lives from extraordinary destinies. Pain is not the end. Pain is the beginning. Embrace it, harness it, and let it propel you beyond the limits of the 99% into the realm of the extraordinary, the unstoppable, and the free. Purpose is the engine that drives greatness, the unshakable force that pushes the 1% to act when the 99% are still debating, hesitating, or distracted. Without purpose, action is directionless, effort is wasted, and potential remains unrealized. The vast majority of people drift through life, floating aimlessly, reacting to circumstances rather than shaping them, letting external forces dictate their days, their energy, and their destiny. They live by default, answering the demands of society, pleasing those around them, and postponing the pursuit of their own calling. That is why they remain part of the 99%, trapped in mediocrity, unsatisfied, and unfulfilled. Developing a ruthless sense of purpose is what separates those who merely exist from those who dominate, innovate, and inspire. It is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Purpose is not a suggestion. It is not a vague notion that makes you feel good when you think about it. It is a burning, non-negotiable mission that dictates your every decision, your every action, your every sacrifice. It is relentless, consuming, and undeniable. A ruthless sense of purpose begins with clarity. You must know without hesitation or doubt why you are here, what you are working toward, and what legacy you intend to leave. Most people never pause long enough to ask themselves these questions. And as a result, they move through life reacting instead of creating. They follow the paths laid out for them, influenced by expectations, trends, and the opinions of others. But those who escape the 99% ask themselves hard questions. What am I willing to struggle for? What am I willing to sacrifice? What is worth the discomfort, the pain, the long hours, and the relentless pursuit? Clarity is not optional, it is mandatory. Without it, purpose is weak, actions are inconsistent, and ambition is diluted. When you have a clear, ruthless sense of purpose, indecision evaporates. Excuses crumble. Fear loses its power. The challenges you encounter are no longer obstacles. They are opportunities to prove your commitment, to sharpen your focus, and to strengthen your resolve. Purpose is not discovered in comfort or convenience. It is forged in struggle. It is revealed in the moments when everything seems difficult, when your energy is low, when external validation is absent, and when quitting feels like the easier option. The 1% do not wait for a perfect moment or a perfect plan. They identify what matters most to them and pursue it with relentless intensity, regardless of obstacles. They understand that life will test them, that circumstances will push back, and that failure is inevitable. But a ruthless sense of purpose makes those trials bearable. It gives them a reason to persist, a reason to endure, and a reason to rise stronger than before. Without purpose, pain is unbearable. With purpose, pain becomes fuel. Struggle becomes strength. Strategy and adversity becomes an ally. A ruthless sense of purpose also demands accountability. It requires you to measure your actions against your mission, not against the expectations or judgments of others. It is easy to be distracted by trends, social approval, and external validation. It is easy to allow your time, energy, and focus to be hijacked by trivial concerns or temporary pleasures. But purpose does not tolerate compromise. It demands sacrifice. It demands focus. It demands that you prioritize long-term vision over short-term comfort. Every decision, every habit, every choice of action is filtered through the lens of your mission. When purpose is truly ruthless, excuses are eliminated, distractions are minimized, and inconsistency becomes impossible. You cannot pursue greatness casually. Purpose requires obsession, discipline, and unwavering dedication. Purpose is also a source of courage. It gives you the strength to face fear, rejection, and uncertainty. It allows you to act when others hesitate, to innovate when others imitate, and to persevere when others quit. Fear is paralyzing to those without purpose because they have nothing to anchor them, nothing to pull them forward, and nothing that justifies the struggle. But those with a ruthless sense of purpose understand that fear is a sign of significance, that risk is the pathway to reward, and that every obstacle is an opportunity to strengthen their resolve. Purpose transforms doubt into determination, anxiety into action, and hesitation into momentum. It is the psychological armor that protects you from the traps of mediocrity, distraction, and self-doubt. A ruthless sense of purpose also drives relental as action. Knowing why you are here is not enough if you do not act on it with intensity. The world is full of dreamers, planners, and thinkers who never execute. Their purpose, if they even have one, remains abstract, ineffective, and powerless. The 1% convert purpose into relentless execution. They create systems, routines, and disciplines that ensure progress every single day. They understand that the magnitude of their mission requires extraordinary effort, and they are willing to work when others rest, sacrifice when others indulge, and push when others pause. Purpose without action is fantasy. Action without purpose is wasted effort. The combination, however, is unstoppable. It is what allows you to escape the 99% and claim a life of impact, influence, and freedom. Purpose is not static. It evolves as you grow. Your understanding of why you are here, what you are capable of, and what you want to achieve will deepen and expand as you encounter challenges, setbacks, and victories. A ruthless sense of purpose is flexible in strategy, but unwavering in commitment. It adapts to circumstances without compromising the mission. It grows with your experience, sharpens with adversity, and strengthens with every obstacle overcome. Those who cling to a vague or weak sense of purpose are easily swayed, distracted, or defeated. Those with ruthless purpose are unyielding, resilient, and unstoppable. They do not let temporary failures, criticism, or external pressures deter them from the life they are determined to create. Finally, a ruthless sense of purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. The long hours, the sleepless nights, the moments of doubt, and the physical and mental strain of LL makes sense when tied to a mission that transcends comfort, opinion, or immediate gratification. Sacrifice without purpose is suffering. Sacrifice with ruthless purpose is investment. It is planting seeds that will grow into freedom, legacy, and influence. It transforms struggle into progress, challenges into opportunities, and pain into momentum. The 1% understand this implicitly. The 99% see sacrifice as punishment, as unfair, or as a reason to quit. Those with purpose see sacrifice as the pathway to dominance, the bridge to freedom, and the fuel that propels them past mediocrity. To develop a ruthless sense of purpose, you must be intentional, disciplined, and relentless. You must identify what matters most, clarify why it matters, and commit to it with every fiber of your being. You must reject distractions, ignore naysayers, and refuse to compromise your vision for comfort or convenience. You must embrace struggle, endure pain, and act relentlessly, knowing that every step, no matter how difficult, brings you closer to the life you are meant to live. Purpose is the difference between drifting and directing, between existing and excelling, and between ordinary and extraordinary. Without it, you are lost in the 99%. With it, you are unstoppable, unbreakable, and destined to escape mediocrity forever. Society loves timelines. From the moment you are born, you are bombarded with schedules, deadlines, and benchmarks designed by people who have their own definitions of success. Go to school, graduate by a certain age, get a job, buy a house, start a family, retire at a reasonable time. If you follow the prescribed path, you are considered responsible, normal, and successful. If you deviate, you are questioned, judged, and often made to feel like a failure. But here is the unvarnished truth. Society's timeline is not designed for you. It is designed for conformity, for the comfort of the masses, and for the maintenance of mediocrity. If you want to escape the 99%, if you can't want to last a light that is extraordinary, you must ignore society's timeline. You must realize that true greatness does not adhere to schedules designed for ordinary lives. It follows vision, persistence, and relentless action, not age, tradition, or expectation. The 1% understand that time is a tool, not a rule, and that your personal timeline is yours to create, shape, and expand. Society's timeline creates pressure that is unnecessary, limiting, and often debilitating. People look at the milestones of others and measure their worth against them. She started her business at 25. Why am I still working at my job? He bought a house at 30. Why don't I own property yet? This comparison breeds anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt. It forces people to rush decisions, settle for what seems possible within a narrow window, or abandon their dreams entirely because they do not align with a conventional schedule. The 99% operate under this pressure, and it keeps them trapped in ordinary lives. They allow external expectations to dictate their internal decisions. But the extraordinary understand that timing is relative, circumstances are variable, and your purpose is independent of anyone else's calendar. True achievement is not measured in years. It is measured in impact, progress, and the relentless pursuit of your vision. Ignoring society's timeline requires courage. It requires the willingness to withstand judgment, criticism, and doubt from those who cannot see your path. It is uncomfortable to walk alone, to take risks that appear unconventional, to pursue dreams that defy traditional expectations. The 99% will ask questions meant to undermine your confidence. Why haven't you done this yet? Why are you waiting so long? Why haven't you achieved what everyone else your age has? Their questions are rooted in fear, conformity, and the desire to validate their own choices. The 1% recognize that these questions are irrelevant. Your life is not theirs to measure, and your journey cannot be dictated by the expectations of the uninspired. Courage is required to move at your own pace, to trust your process, and to prioritize vision over social pressure. Every step you take outside society's timeline is a declaration of independence and a commitment to living life on your own terms. Society's timeline also fosters impatience and distraction. People become obsessed with speed, as though achieving milestones faster makes them better, smarter, or more deserving. They chase results without foundation, and they compare their beginning to someone else's middle. The 1% understand that mastery, success, and influence cannot be rushed. They know that depth is more important than speed, that preparation outweighs imitation, and that building a foundation requires patience, focus, and resilience. They operate with a sense of urgency, yes, but it's aligned with vision, not with external pressure. Ignoring society's timeline does not mean being passive. It means being deliberate, intentional, and committed to creating sustainable, extraordinary results on your own schedule. Furthermore, society's timeline imposes arbitrary limits on what you believe is possible. It conditions people to think that if you haven't achieved X by age Y, then you are failing. That mindset is lethal. It convinces people to settle for less, to abandon dreams, or to follow a path that feels safe because it appears attainable within a predetermined period. The 1% reject these limits. They understand that growth, achievement, and influence are cumulative, and that people who have changed the world often do so later in life or in ways that society could not predict. Ignoring society's timeline frees you from artificial ceilings, allowing you to pursue your ambitions with the patience, focus, and persistence required to achieve excellence. Timing becomes a tool rather than a cage. And every step is measured by progress and alignment with your vision, not by arbitrary milestones set by others. Ignoring society's timeline also requires self-awareness and strategic thinking. You must know your own strengths, weaknesses, rhythms, and processes. You must understand that your journey is unique and that what works for someone else may not work for you. By focusing on your own pace, you can avoid burnout, make calculated decisions, and execute with precision. The 1% are not reckless, they are deliberate. They do not rush simply to conform. They plan strategically, invest intentionally, and act consistently. Society's timeline encourages haste without direction. The extraordinary reject it. They measure success by progress, mastery, and results, not by arbitrary deadlines. In addition, ignoring society's timeline cultivates resilience. You will face pressure, skepticism, and criticism from people who believe they know what is right for you. You will encounter obstacles that appear to confirm that you are behind or failing. But by refusing to conform, you strengthen your mental toughness. You learn to trust your instincts, to rely on your discipline, and to persist when external validation is absent. This resilience is what allows you to maintain focus, continue learning, and keep moving toward your vision regardless of external noise. Those who follow society's timeline are fragile. They crumble under criticism, comparison, and delay. Those who ignore it are unbreakable. They persist through adversity, guided by purpose and internal clarity. Finally, ignoring society's timeline is liberating. It releases you from the invisible chains of expectation, pressure, and conformity. It allows you to define your life on your own terms, pursue your purpose without compromise, and focus relentlessly on the long game rather than short-term Rover. You are no longer bound by arbitrary measures of success or limited by the milestones of others. Instead, your life is measured by your vision, your effort, and your impact. Every choice, every action, every sacrifice is aligned with your personal mission, not with someone else's concept of what is on time. Freedom, autonomy, and fulfillment emerge when you reject artificial timelines and embrace your own path with courage, discipline, and focus. Escaping the 99% requires understanding this truth. Life is not a race against others. It is a pursuit of your own excellence. Success is not defined by age, social expectation, or external validation. It is defined by vision, persistence, and the consistent pursuit of your mission. Society's timeline is irrelevant to the person determined to escape mediocrity. Ignoring it allows you to act deliberately, endure hardship, embrace growth, and maintain clarity of purpose. Every day spent pursuing your vision, regardless of the timeline, compounds into momentum, results, and freedom. To ignore society's timeline, you must be fearless, patient, and relentless. You must commit to your own journey, trust your process, and refuse to be distracted by what others are doing or achieving. You must understand that greatness is measured by impact, mastery, and alignment with purpose, not by adherence to conventional schedules. The 1% operate on their own clock, driven by vision, fueled by persistence, and guided by a ruthless sense of purpose. The 99% are trapped by expectation, comfort, and convention. If you want to escape, you must reject their rules, ignore their pressures, and march forward on your own timeline. Building a life that is extraordinary, on your terms, and beyond their comprehension. Too many people chase status instead of skill. They chase the title, the recognition, the applause, the validation from others, believing that these external markers define their worth and their success. They want to be seen, to be admired, to be acknowledged without actually investing in the work, the discipline, or the mastery required to earn genuine results. They are part of the 99%, moving through life with appearances as their measure of achievement. They post their accomplishments, flaunt their possessions, and constantly compare themselves to others, yet their competence, their ability, and their real impact remain shallow. Status is fleeting. Status is superficial. It can be taken away with a single misstep, a single mistake, or a single change in circumstance. Skill, on the other hand, is enduring. Skill is your power. Skill is your freedom. Skill is what allows you to create opportunities, build influence, and escape the trap of mediocrity. To escape the 99%, you must focus relentlessly on skill, not status. Skill is built in silence. It is forged in repetition, in failure, in effort, and in persistence. It is developed while no one is watching, while others are distracted by the shiny illusions of recognition, prestige, or social approval. The 1% understand that mastery is not instantaneous. It requires years of dedicated effort, of trial and error, of learning from mistakes, and of constantly pushing beyond comfort. They do not measure their progress by likes, followers, or accolades. They measure it by competence, growth, and the ability to produce results that cannot be ignored. Skill compounds over time, and it cannot be faked. Status can be borrowed or temporarily claimed, but skill is permanent. It follows you wherever you go, protects you in times of uncertainty, and multiplies the impact of your actions. That is why skill, not status, is the currency of the extraordinary. Focusing on skill requires humility. It requires you to accept that you do not know everything, that you have weaknesses, and that growth is continuous. Most people reject humility because they fear it makes them appear small, inexperienced, or inadequate. They chase status to mask insecurity, to signal competence they have not earned, or to achieve validation without the effort required for real excellence. The 1%, however, embrace humility because it is the key to learning. They seek mentors, they study relentlessly, they practice consistently, and they dedicate themselves to improvement every single day. Humility allows you to prioritize skill over appearances. It allows you to focus on long-term mastery rather than short-term recognition. And it allows you to escape the trap of the 99% whose time, energy, and attention are consumed by superficial markers of achievement. Skill creates opportunity. Status cannot. If you are skilled, doors will open because people cannot ignore your capability. They may not applaud you immediately. They may not validate you publicly, but skill produces results, and results command attention. Status, however, is hollow. It can be taken away. It can fade with trends, and it can crumble under scrutiny. People who focus on status without skill are fragile. They rely on external perception rather than internal competence. Those who focus on skill are unhackable. They rely on capability, performance, and mastery, which no circumstance can diminish. Skill becomes your independence, your leverage, and your power. Status is a reflection of others' opinions. Skill is a reflection of your work ethic, discipline, and vision. Focusing on skill also demands patience. Mastery is rarely recognized instantly. Most people quit before they see the results of their labor because the validation does not come quickly enough. They are discouraged when promotions, awards, or recognition take time. The 1% understand that skill is invisible at first, that competence is developed behind the scenes, and that excellence requires investment in practice, repetition, and resilience. They are not motivated by praise. They are motivated by progress. They are not driven by applause. They are driven by competence. And because they focus on skill first, status eventually follows, naturally, effortlessly, and permanently. Skill guarantees that when opportunity arrives, you are prepared to seize it. Status guarantees nothing. It is a gamble, a temporary illusion, a reflection of luck and circumstance rather than ability. The pursuit of skill requires sacrifice. It demands time, energy, and focus. It requires you to invest in learning, to train when others rest, to refine your craft when others are distracted, and to endure criticism without complaint. Skill is built on effort, and effort is not always glamorous. It is the countless hours spent studying, practicing, and pushing beyond failure. It is the repetition that nobody notices, the work done when no one is watching, the discipline that separates extraordinary individuals from the masses. I see status often avoid this work because it is difficult, uncomfortable, or thankless. Those who chase skill embrace it because they understand that the struggle is temporary, but mastery lasts a lifetime. Skill also builds confidence that is unshakable. When you know you can perform, deliver, and execute at a high level, recognition becomes secondary. You no longer need the approval of others to validate your worth. The 1% are secure in their competence because skill is undeniable. It produces results regardless of opinion, trend, or external judgment. Status, however, is fragile. It depends on perception, influence, and circumstance. Focusing on skill allows you to escape the anxiety of comparison, to disregard criticism from those who do not understand your journey, and to remain relentless in pursuit of mastery. Confidence built on skill is permanent. Confidence built on status is temporary. Focusing on skill also fosters long-term growth. Status may open doors temporarily, but it does not sustain success. Skill allows you to adapt, innovate, and thrive in any circumstance. It becomes your leverage, your resilience, and your competitive advantage. Those who chase skill develop capabilities that allow them to create opportunities for themselves and others, build influence, and leave a legacy. Status without skill is fragile, fleeting, and dependent on conditions beyond your control. Skill without status is unstoppable, enduring, and transformative. It is the difference between living an ordinary life and escaping the 99% to achieve extraordinary results. Finally, skill produces impact. It allows you to influence, to teach, to lead, and to create value in ways that status cannot. People who chase status often prioritize appearance over substance, influence over capability, and image over results. They are admired temporarily, but their impact is shallow and their contribution is limited. Those who focus on skill, however, leave a lasting mark because their work, competence, and mastery ripple beyond themselves. Their value is undeniable. Their influence is real. Their legacy is built on substance, not perception. Skill becomes a foundation for freedom, opportunity, and excellence, while status is a reflection of what others think you have accomplished. To focus on skill, you must be relentless, patient, and disciplined. You must prioritize learning, practice, and mastery over recognition, praise, and social approval. You must embrace failure as a teacher, repetition as a pathway to excellence, and effort as the currency of achievement. You must understand that true power lies in capability, not image, and that the 99% will never understand this because they are obsessed with what is seen rather than what is real. Skill is enduring, status is fleeting. Skill builds independence, freedom, and influence. Status builds fragility, dependency, and illusion. To escape the 99%, you must chase skill relentlessly, ignore status, and invest in mastery until your results speak louder than anyone else ever could. When you internalize this principle, everything changes. Your time, energy, and focus are aligned with growth rather than validation.